welcome to episode 67 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 8th of July 2019. I'm Joe, and with me are Villian.
Hey.
Graham.
Hello.
And Will.
Hello.
As promised, we're back with a full house, and we will be talking about the Raspberry Pi 4 later, because a couple of us have got one. But before that, let's get into some news. And Villian, please make this quick for once. All your fucking KDE bollocks.
Ah, you love it. So the KDE Usability and Productivity Sprint was also along with the Plasma Sprint a few weeks back. And that allowed them to build a proper, decent testing facility for them so they can actually test out new versions of Plasma. It was a crufty load of hacks and scripts that you had to do. But now when you build Plasma, if you build one of the beta releases, it now inserts itself into your login manager and you can test away to your heart's content on both the X11 and Wayland versions. So that's quite handy. While they were at that, they did a lot of fix-ups for Kmail, Akanadi, and the contacts stuff. So that is all still alive and good, which makes me very happy because that's what I use for my email and calendar. So I'm glad that it's not going away and some trendy version has not actually overtaken it with less features and not working. So it's good that they're still working on that. And there's a new library, lib, I don't know how you say this, KG API. Essentially, it's team drives for Google Drive that's going to integrate in with Contact. So that might mean that I can edit our show doc through that somehow. I have yet to look into it fully, but I look forward to it. And latest version of Plasma 5.17 that will be coming out soon. They've been doing work to make the plasmoids more lean and robust, speeding things up there again. Design them to work on non-laptop desktop form factors, which is interesting because I think they're slowly proceeding towards Internet of Things / phone type stuff. There's a whole load of Wayland improvements as well, and working on the touchscreen mode for plasmoids and other GUI application bits. So it's obviously got to be something to do with a phone or a screen or something that's not a PC, essentially.
What, no exciting K itinerary news?
No, I held back this month. But they did integrate SNCF ticket reading in to email, so that's good. So very important when traveling through France. Oh, and I should say that that was all sponsored by the Slimbook people down in Spain. Valencia, I think it was. So top marks to them for doing that.
All right, well, shall we talk about Mozilla then and how they are nominated for Internet Villain of the Year, along with Article 13 and Donald Trump. Oh, we need to not talk about Trump, otherwise we'll get more hate mail.
This is the first taster of life in post-Brexit Britain. I think they should really be recommending us use Internet Explorer, and I'm sure they will.
It's called Edge now, Graham, and it's based on Chrome.
No, I'm talking about Internet Explorer 4.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
No, 6, surely. Come on, let's get with the times.
Yeah, insane. So this is DNS because of Mozilla pushing for DNS over HTTPS, which is obviously going to make their lives very difficult in trying to keep the UK's censorship laws where kids can't access adult content, and the ISPs have been forced to police this. With DNS requests going over HTTPS, of course, that means that they're no longer open, and your ISP theoretically can't snoop on the sites that you're loading.
Yeah, I think that if any of the UK ISPs are intending to implement the porn filtering or the site blocking that the government has mandated, if they intend to do that through DNS records, then they've already failed because, everybody knows, well, not everybody, a lot of people know, put 1.1.1.1 in instead and, you'll bypass that immediately. So I think that the ISPA's assertion that this is going to block that filtering somehow is wrong. And also, yes, I think you've hit the nail on the head with what you said about blocking them from snooping. This is an industry body made up of the large ISPs in the UK who would be very interested in mining that data for what websites people are looking up and perhaps monetizing it somehow. And this effectively removes that revenue stream. Perhaps I am being a bit too cynical, but I think it's fair to say that no ISP in the UK would consider implementing these blocks via DNS And so why else do they care so much?
I don't think you are being too cynical. I'm sad to say. I mean, to actually choose Mozilla of all people, whose kind of raison d'etre is the opposite of what they're accusing them of, it's crazy. I suppose it will have an effect on certain people. Maybe the way it's reported in the press, it's like negative publicity is good publicity for them. But it's shocking.
There was a fun story about Andrews and Arnold, who are a UK ISP and are both the best and the most expensive ISP in the UK. They donated nearly £3,000 to Mozilla instead of paying their membership fees to the ISPA. So good on them. Yeah,
that is excellent, actually. At Linux Voice, Andrews and Arnold used to pay for advertising space, one of the few companies that ever did, and we were terrible at selling it. But for the first time in my whole life, actually, we had a complaint from the Advertising Standards Agency about their ad, which I can't remember exactly, but it was something like we don't give an FSCK about content filtering or something like that. And we had to go through the whole process of defending its use and the typical readership. And Andrews and Arnold are fantastic all the way through. It was what could have been a negative experience, turned into a positive experience. So I wholeheartedly agree with your endorsement. I think the argument was that children could pick up the magazine and then misinterpret the fixing your file system for a bad word.
That's all right, because those Linux mags are on the top shelf anyway.
Too right.
I think we argued that you needed to be an adult to afford a subscription.
Kids these days wouldn't even know what a magazine is. Yeah. They try and fucking swipe when they see one, don't they? At least babies do, if the gifts are to be believed. So let's talk about the Pinebook Pro. Now, I am somewhat influenced by this because it turns out that Lucas from Pine64 lives pretty close to me. Well, he's in London at least. It's, not too far. And so he invited me for drinks. It turned out that I had food poisoning and couldn't drink anything but water, but I still got to hang out with him and get hands-on with the Pinebook Pro prototype. And he gave me a couple of boards as well to play with, one of which has actually got the same SoC and everything as the Pinebook Pro. So that's pretty cool. Been playing with that. So I am not objective about this. But nevertheless, the Pinebook Pro does look really fucking cool. And it's coming soon. And the pre-orders are going to start in a couple of weeks by the looks of things.
What makes it a Pro? It's black. Is there anything else?
How much more black can you get? None more black. It is just totally different, really. It's a bigger screen, much smaller bezels, completely new innards, basically, 4 gigs of RAM, a much faster SoC. And the claim is that it's daily driver worthy. Now, obviously, I haven't had much time with it, but it is significantly faster than the original Pinebook that I've got with me.
Does the volume go to 11?
I don't know about that. But I saw various ROMs running on it, various images, including Chromium OS, which was really fast and, obviously limited, but very fast, and a couple of Linux-based images. And it seemed to be able to handle YouTube and stuff with lots of acceleration and everything. It had a few bugs, the version that I was playing with briefly in the pub there, but it's shaping up to be a very good device, I reckon, and it's going to be $200. I think we talked about it. Did we talk about it last episode, or was that the phone we were talking about?
No, it was the phone.
All right. Yeah, so pre-orders start July 25th anyway. And, it's got these privacy switches as well. I'm too American these days. I said privacy. I should say privacy. Anyway, I think it's F1, F2, and F3. Hold them down, and then it can turn off the webcam and mic and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
That sounds good, but I read the article about this, and it talks about it being controlled by firmware in the keyboard controller. Is that firmware open? Do we know?
I'd be very surprised if it was. I should have asked about that, actually. I will ask about it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know. I mean, yes, it's an amazing feature that you can literally power down those devices from the keyboard over like a GPIO or something. But it would be nice to know if the source is available for that firmware.
Yeah, Because if it's not, and your keyboard's running proprietary software, then who knows what it's doing.
Well, if it was me, I'd make it do the opposite. Turn on secret recording.
Yeah.
What is this also doing your keylogger feature?
Yes, yeah.
I also had a hands-on with the PinePhone dev kit, and also a hands-on with the dummy PinePhone, which doesn't sound that interesting, but to actually get to the point where you've got all your PCP designs and everything is, means you are quite far along. If you can have, and this was a proper dummy phone that was the right weight and everything, and it felt quite nice. It didn't feel super modern, and it's a bit thick compared to, it's basically, I have got a OnePlus 3T in a case, a quite thin case, and it was about as thick as that without a case. So it's not, it's not super slim, like modern or whatever, but that's only going to be $150, that phone. So,
brilliant.
What do you want? Yeah. But the software that I saw running on the dev kit was, buggy and not ready. And, Pine 64 are the first to admit that software is not ready. It's being worked on by various communities. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a while. I don't know exactly when they're going to ship the phone and what state the software is going to be in, but as usual, they're not trying to say it's this big flashy thing that's going to take on Android and, iOS. So, fair play to them. But I'm hoping to get the final Pinebook Pro at some point fairly soon. In the article, he actually talks about me and some other people, but doesn't name us. But yes, if you read that article, I am one of the people who had their hands on with it. And I don't know when exactly I'll get my hands on the finished product, but because he's so close to me, hopefully it'll be fairly soon, and I will report back on that as and when. But yeah, looking good. Okay, this episode is sponsored by DigitalOcean. Go to do.co/LNL and you can get $50 credit with 30 days to use it. DigitalOcean offers VMs, or droplets as they call them, in data centers all over the world with really fast network and really fast SSDs. And you can choose from one of the distros that they offer, like Ubuntu, Fedora, Debian, and CentOS, or FreeBSD, or you can use your own custom image. And you can take those distros and build them up exactly how you want. Remember, you've got complete root access to these. Or you can go for one of their one-click apps, like LAMP and LEMP stacks and WordPress, Discourse, GitLab. And these droplets start from as little as $5 a month, and they scale all the way up to huge amounts of RAM and huge numbers of CPU cores, so you can deploy exactly how much you need for the application that you're using. If you need more storage, they've got block storage and object storage, which is really easy to attach to your droplet and just get going straight away. They have cloud firewalls, so you can block network traffic before it even gets to your VM, amazing backups, and a great Teams feature that allows multiple people to work on one droplet without having to share passwords. So go to do.co/LNL, get your $50 credit, and get started. That's do.co/LNL. So I take it you've all installed Debian 10 Buster, have you?
If it's on a Raspberry Pi, does that count?
Yeah, we'll be talking about that in a bit. But yeah, so it was released at the weekend, and I've been trying it out, and it has actually got some cool new features. It supports proper secure boot now and AppArmor and stuff. But otherwise, it's just a more modern Debian, really. It's funny, like, we kind of all use Debian in a way by using Ubuntu. We use a Debian derivative. But I don't know, why don't we use Debian proper? Well, Will, you're not allowed to, probably. But
I started out with Debian proper, and then, Ubuntu, well, this is a long time ago, of course, but then Ubuntu was like Debian proper, but a bit more up to date and a bit less fiddling. You didn't have to configure as much stuff. I think the holdback for most people for Debian is just the age of the packages, or the perceived age of the packages. A new release comes out, everything's up to date, but then it doesn't change for a long time.
Yeah, 25 months is a long time to sit looking at the same desktop. I mean, if you run XFace or something like that, that's fine because it doesn't change even if you have the newest version of it. But for the rest of us, actually like a modern desktop, that's a problem.
What's that joke? Ubuntu is an ancient African word meaning I can't install Debian.
Oh! I use Debian on my own personal server. I generally use Ubuntu server for most other stuff because it's just nicer to upgrade. But I mean, one thing you can say from them is they definitely document stuff nicely because like their upgrade procedure and the gotchas and stuff like that, it's all really well done. But I still don't like overly going through it just for the sake of making a balls of it yourself, because you've only yourself to blame then, where at least you could blame the upgrade package utility in Ubuntu for it if it did screw up.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. They've moved to Wayland by default. Before even you with Ubuntu. Like, what's going on?
Well, yeah, it's good to see. I think that I'm pretty sure we will reconsider the Wayland position after the next LTS is out. But yeah, it's good to see them putting their might behind Wayland.
All right, so 2004 definitely no Wayland by default then?
Correct, yeah.
Wow, so that means 10 years. We talked about the 32-bit thing last time, but 10 years potentially for supporting Xorg then.
Xorg will outlive all of us.
Yeah. The cockroach of the Linux world. That's not very nice, is it? But yeah, it's strange that something as conservative, a project as conservative as Debian, has moved to Wayland. I suppose, I mean, they do have X sessions as well. So if Wayland just fucks up for you, you can use Xorg. But by default, that's quite the bold step for such a conservative distro.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people react to it. It has got a lot more. Wayland has got a lot more stable in recent months, or in the last year or so. But yeah, it would be very interesting to follow that thread along and see how they get on with it. Fingers crossed. I hope it works out for them.
Do you not have any Debian servers for work stuff then, Phelan?
Just one no. For most of them, I would have picked Ubuntu, and the main reason for that is that if I got hit by a bus, clients could go to Canonical for support if they really needed it. Whereas it's been a bit harder to get that for Debian. You can obviously go to a different company for it and stuff as well, but and also the up-to-date of packages. I mean, for a lot of stuff, it doesn't really matter, but it's very handy for, like, say, web servers and like, where you just need a later version of PHP and Apache for whatever feature you need, or all those things where, you know, it being stable is great, but if you don't have the latest plugin for PHP and you're not getting anything, like my Nextcloud continually warns me that I haven't got the latest security features and I should try get PHP 7.3. It's like, yes, but it's not in Debian yet. Thanks very much.
But you'll be upgrading to Debian 10 then?
Well, going by how I only upgraded from version 8 about 3-4 weeks ago, I won't hold my breath on that one just yet, but I will try to be a bit quicker this time.
Oh dear. On to a bit of admin then. And first of all, thank you everyone for supporting us on PayPal and Patreon. It is very much appreciated. And remember that if you go for $5 or more on Patreon, you can get an ad-free RSS feed. So you don't have to listen to the ads or skip them. Not that you would do that, of course. You can go to latenightlinux.com/support if you want to join the various people who are doing that there. There's other means as well, apart from PayPal and Patreon. Even Bitcoin, although I haven't checked that for a while. Well, that's gone up in value. Maybe I should. And if you want to get in contact with us, latenightlinux.com/contact. Now, I very much dropped a bollock last time by not mentioning OggCamp. Tickets have been on sale for quite some time now. You can go for free if you want, but they're kind of trying to encourage people to donate by buying tickets. And this is, I think, the 10th anniversary spectacular. And I'm going to be hosting a panel there, all being well. So that'll be pretty cool. It's in Manchester at the Manchester Conference Centre, which is in the Pendulum Hotel. It's right in the centre of town anyway. It's October 19th and 20th, although that's the Saturday and Sunday. The Friday night before, there's usually a piss-up as well. So, yeah, do come to that and go to oggcamp.org if you want any more information about that. So any of you lot coming, or have you all got your excuses in?
I haven't thought of my excuse yet.
I think I'm away that weekend with work.
Oh, no.
I should be able to make it. I have actually got a ticket. But I haven't made any logistical arrangements yet or booked any accommodation. I really want to go, so hopefully I'll be there.
Yeah, well, the venue is a hotel, so you can stay there. Or there's various other hotels, like, you know, Premier Inn and stuff like that. I can't remember which one I booked now. I think it was either Premier Inn or Travel Lodge, but anyway, it's pretty close. It's right near Piccadilly Station, Manchester Piccadilly, so come to OggCamp, it'll be great. Okay, this episode is sponsored by CDN77. Go to cdn77.com, and they are a UK-based CDN provider with a standalone live streaming platform providing end-to-end video solutions. They sponsor loads of great projects like CentOS, KDE, Fedora, Gentoo, and Funtoo, and one of their standout clients is the European Space Agency, who use CDN77 to deliver Hubble images all around the world. And this CDN is built from over 500 servers, all running Debian, and most of them are physical servers, only a few of them are VMs. And everything is developed in-house by CDN77. They make their own DDoS protection, and through the optimizations that they've done, they can push 80 gigabits per second of live streaming through just one machine. They've got 30 points of presence in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia, with daily peaks regularly exceeding 4 terabits per second. They're really big on innovation as well. They were the first CDN to implement features like HTTP2 and Brockley compression. But most importantly, it's really easy to use. I hosted an episode of the Joe Rest podcast on there, and it was really easy to put the file on there and link to it. And I've had no complaints about the speed from people downloading it all over the world. They've recently launched some new monthly plans with the best value on the market, from $9.99 per terabytes as a global flat rate. And they've also got a pay-as-you-go option with no commitments and full transparency. They've got a 14-day trial with no credit card needed, so go to cdn77.com and sign up there. And once you've done your free trial and you're ready to go for the paid option, then mention Late Night Linux to the sales or tech support team, and you get an extra first payment bonus. So, for example, if you topped up $1,000, you'd get an extra $400 on top of that. So go to cdn77.com, sign up, and start delivering new content. All right, then. Well, as teased, Graham and I both bought Raspberry Pi 4s and have been playing with them for the last couple of weeks. So, Graham, what's your first thought on it? Did you enjoy plugging it into 2 different displays?
Well, I suppose you got right to the main issue. Yeah, my tiny little cheap Chinese manufactured screen with a really nice kind of HDMI loop circuit on it won't fit on the Pi. But I will say that, like, it's amazing. I think it's an incredible little device and great value for money, and there's lots of things to kind of pick it apart, because it's quite a big update on everything in every aspect, really, and something I didn't expect. But overall, it's fantastic. It feels a lot faster, even though it's only, on paper it's like 1.5 gig as opposed to 1.4. When you update, it's small things like apt-get update. An upgrade, those things happen. So they take an age on the older Raspberry Pis, and it's so nice to have something that's feels much closer to being a PC, which it is. Effectively, it is. I'm really not too sure about the 2 micro mini HDMI ports. I don't know.
Yeah, I just bought a pack of 2 from Amazon Basics. They're only 3 foot long, so like 90 centimeters or whatever. So they're not going to do you if you've got to route it behind tellies and stuff. But if it's just sitting on your desk, like for me, then it's no problem. And I did check it out with 2 displays, and that was quite cool. But I've mostly been using it with my just standard one, which is 1440p. Now, that is what struck me first with all the other Pis and like other weird things that I plug into this display. You just generally either only get 1080p or you get the overscan with the black box around it, whereas it just worked perfectly, 1440p, nice and crisp.
60 frames a second?
I believe so, yeah. Mine, it's not a super high refresh rate. This is not a gaming monitor or whatever. That's why it was cheap.
Yeah, I think with the 2 HDMI ports, if you use them both, it goes down to 30 per output.
Yeah. But with one, you get 60, so it just was absolutely fine. The unfortunate thing is it doesn't support USB boot yet, or last time I checked it didn't, certainly at launch. And so, because I thought with the Pi 3B Plus, you can just DD your image onto a USB stick and boot it from that, and it's much quicker than an SD card. So I did that, and I was like, why is it not working? Have I got it in the wrong port or whatever? And then I did a Control F for USB boot, and in the comments, Eben had said, no, it doesn't support that yet.
Yeah. I think it's the same with NetBoot. I think that's going to come as well, just like it had with the other ones.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a regression, but it's not the end of the world. I've got a pretty good SD card, so it's all right.
And the other things I like in terms of the hardware, there's more alternate modes for the GPIO pin, so there's more SPI connections, more. It's still backwards compatible with like hats or whatever they were on the first Raspberry Pi, but at the same time, when you need more SPI pins, for example, which I do actually, because if you connect an OLED display, a couple of knobs and a few buttons, which is the kind of stuff I do, then you do run out, and it's nice to be able to have more of those. Bluetooth 5, I think in theory, that means you can connect to multiple devices. And I use that as well because I do have a Raspberry Pi as a Bluetooth host for like an Amazon Echo just to play music on an actual amplifier. Those kind of small things make a difference.
Did either of you buy the official power supply?
I think we both got it from the same source, didn't we? I mean, it was you that told me that they were in stock, Joe. So they seem very close to being official, but I don't think they are.
No, it is branded with OK Go, I think it's called. No, not OK Go. That's a band, isn't it?
OK Do.
OK Do, that's it. That's one letter out, damn it. But yeah, the power supply, it didn't seem like massively high quality to me, but it does work fine. And it turns out that it's a bit picky, isn't it, the Pi? I've heard reports of various people trying to use other phone chargers and stuff and it just not working. So I'm actually quite glad that I was forced to buy that power supply. I can see why they did it. They didn't want complaints, maybe.
There's a big story this week that they're actually the circuit that they've engineered themselves for USB-C charging. And this is a USB-C port. So it's something like 3 amps, so you can power many more things with it. But the circuit that they've designed is non-standards compliant, which means it breaks with lots of, I think Apple chargers, for example, won't work and stuff like that. There's going to be quite a few that won't.
Maybe there's a dongle that you can buy.
Yeah. Can I just take this opportunity to say, fuck USB-C and its lack of standards? Like, it's got this standard port that's reversible and it should be amazing, but why is it that this iteration of USB is just so non-standard and you've just got no clue? Can it do data? Can it do charging? What power can it draw? Oh, it's just so fucking annoying. But I'm just very glad that I got that power supply is all I can say.
My OnePlus 3T has a USB-C port on it that I charge it with, and at night time in the dark when I plug it in, I don't have to plug it in wrong, plug it in right, plug it in wrong 3 times in a row. I'm very happy.
Yeah, USB superposition as it used to be.
No, I agree with you. And I mean, there are even reports of people damaging hardware with, just by plugging in the wrong cable. And that should never have happened. How was that allowed to happen?
Yeah, I think that might be part of why Eben was kind of downplaying USB-C and saying micro USB was good, but they obviously had to bump it up to USB-C to get the power in there. But it does mean that you can just plug in a hard drive and it will just spin up and work properly over USB 3.
Yeah.
And I did try that and got some pretty good speeds. Not like amazing speeds, but much better than the 3B Plus.
Yeah, and I actually think the SD card now is the Achilles heel. I mean, it's always been a bit problematic, but you kind of accept it. But now that everything else is kind of relatively modern, I've corrupted an SD card just this week, just with the power coming out and having to like try and fix it and go through all those kind of arcane rituals on a normal PC to get it back again. It just seems so wrong using an SD card. At least MMC would have been a nice option.
Yeah, but that would have put the price up, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but maybe on the 4 gig ones for, us wealthy types.
Yeah, maybe if they'd made it, because it was $35, $45, $55, which after tax and stuff works out about the same in pounds. So if they'd made it maybe 60 or 70 quid with at least, I don't know, maybe 16 gigs of storage on board just for your OS or whatever, that would have been nice.
That's the buying the new PC paradox, where it starts off cheap and you think, great, I'm going to have a great new PC, but I could double the memory for an extra bit of quid, and if I did that, I could do this.
Yeah.
One thing I did notice, I sent you guys a picture from a guy on Twitter, and he had done a infrared camera photo of the Pi 4, and it looks hot. Let's put it that way. He's tested it on its own. One with a Pimeroni heatsink and again with a Pimeroni fan shim, whatever that is. I've never seen one before. And it seems to make a colossal difference. Like, it looks like it goes from about 80 all the way down to about 20 with this thing on.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, in relative terms, it's actually quite cool. If you compare it to the surface of the sun, for example, then it's basically freezing cold. But if you compare it to my hand, then it is fucking dangerously hot. It needs a heatsink at least, and ideally a fan. Yeah, but it's like, is anyone here old enough to remember when x86 processors didn't have a heatsink or fan?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then at some point they started to get heatsinks, and then at some point they started to get fans. And Are we at that point now with ARM devices? It looks that way.
Well, my Amiga hasn't got a heatsink on its 060.
Does it work?
It does, but it must get to 80 degrees.
Yeah, and like I said on Twitter, I wouldn't want to give this to a small child unattended, quite frankly, because I think it's dangerously hot. Now, they did push out a new firmware for it, which was really professionally hosted on Google Drive.
But better than curl.
Well, yeah, but still, so you had to just run this random binary as root. Yeah, love doing that. And it helped a little bit. I don't know, did you do that, Graham?
No, I didn't. And I think you're right to bring this up, actually. I mean, mine's idling now, and it's probably it's doing nothing. It's like 0.1 on top. And it's 56 degrees, and it's too hot to touch. And as soon as you do anything, that ramps up to like 65, which, as you say, will hurt.
Yeah, you can get a few degrees off by using this new firmware, but it's still, I think that they should have shipped it with a heatsink.
Has it got a heatsink mounting hole or anything like that? I mean, because how are these heatsinks getting stuck on? Because it doesn't seem to me to be a very good idea to put a heatsink on and just kind of sticker it on there.
No, what you do is you get some toothpaste.
Good. All right, yeah.
Yeah, all this thermal paste bollocks, it's just a scam. Just use toothpaste.
Okay. Right. Oh, well, whatever you say, boss.
It's a shame, really, because otherwise it's just so fast. And like I was using it today as just a desktop, just to sort of prepare for this show, doing a bit of research and reading some news stories and stuff. And okay, it's not as fast as my i5, obviously, but for basic web browsing now, it isn't painful. It's a little bit slow and a little bit frustrating, but I think even with the 3, I don't know, the 3 was getting there, but now it's not a painful experience. That might be damning it with faint praise, but did you try a bit of that, Graham?
Yeah, I have. I mean, as I said, I didn't get the HDMI adapters, but I did set it up on VNC. And one of the things you immediately notice is that I've always kind of run VNC desktops off the Raspberry Pi for one reason or another, but now it's really quick with the gigabit unrestricted Ethernet plus the extra RAM. It really works well. It's the desktop itself is kind of austere. They've they've flattened it and they've done some design tweaks. But yeah, I loaded up LibreOffice and it works. You could use it. It's actually perfect for like an educational computer.
Do you miss out on the hardware acceleration of a VNC though?
Yeah, you do. You don't have any of the OpenGL acceleration. So yeah, I couldn't have wobbly windows, which I miss.
Did anybody try playing back any HD video?
Yes. So first of all with YouTube, and that works fine. And then I YouTube DL'd it, and at least at 720p, it was absolutely perfect playback. And just playing through my shitty monitor speaker, really thin. But yeah, I can plug headphones in and whatever. So yeah, you could use this as a media machine, no problem.
Yeah, I didn't try it, but I've got a Raspberry Pi 3 running KDE and plugged to a TV, and that, because of the hardware acceleration, and I've got the unlocked codecs, it does really well. I think I've said before, it's one of the only units that will play 3D files off Blu-ray. Because of the hardware decoding, which is incredible because that's effectively two 1080p streams for each eye. And also, it's worth mentioning that when Valve dropped Steam Link, which was this like hardware kind of front end box for playing games on your PC with on your television with a very small set top box, they created binaries for the Raspberry Pi, and I tried that out, and that worked really well. So it makes a great replacement for something like the NVIDIA Shield, which is like 150 quid. And this is brilliant for like low latency gaming.
I discovered something today because I wanted to try out a fresh installation of Raspbian. And because Debian 10 has come out now, which is what this version of Raspbian was based on, you have to run apt update, sudo apt update, and accept the change from testing to stable. And that breaks the welcome config thing that they have. It just freaks out and just doesn't work. And you can only assume that's because they just didn't think of that, because they based it on a version of Debian that wasn't fully out yet. And so before, it would make you change the password, do your updates and reboot and everything. But now It doesn't do that. That just breaks, and you have to have enough experience to know that you have to do update via the terminal. So that is a bit shit, really. And that, I don't know, it kind of shows that as far along as Raspbian has come, they still are a bit inexperienced when it comes to software and what it means to be in charge of a distro and do the relevant testing and everything. It seems like it was just an oversight by them, which I'm sure they'll fix in the next image. But just for now, if you've bought one and you had to wait or whatever, and you're only getting it now after Debian 10's come out, then you're just not going to know what's going on, potentially.
I also noticed that there's no overclocking options in the Raspberry config tool.
Yeah, that's because it might actually catch fire.
But it's something to bear in mind. I don't know how it performs, It could potentially perform really well if you get some water cooling on there.
It doesn't need a heatsink, it needs a hot plate instead. You can make a cup of tea directly in the cup.
Yeah. Well, I did some benchmarks on it and it performed very, very well. I mean, that brings me to their claim that it is as performant as a low-end x86 machine. Now, your definition of that varies wildly, doesn't it, depending on your point of view?
Pemped to MMX.
Yeah, are we talking about something you can buy now? Now, I had a look around at what you can buy now, and you could get something for a similar price off Amazon or eBay, like reconditioned, like refurbished. I presume it's X sort of enterprise stuff, like, mini-ish PCs. And they were going to perform much better than this, but they're going to use a lot more power than this, and they're a lot bigger and less convenient. So I don't know. What do we think of the claim that this is going to take on x86, or at least going to be equivalent to it?
Yeah, I think it will be. I think it is. I mean, I think it's fine for most tasks. In the things that I do, it's difficult to get excited about it, but I'm sure, like in classrooms and places like that, it could have a huge effect, especially with, as we mentioned last time, having such a standard and common form factor. And one of the great things about, like we said last time, is there's so much support. If you're trying to do something, it's highly likely somebody's already done it and already run into the same problems. All that together with hardware that's now capable of running as a desktop machine makes a really great package.
Some of the benchmarks I looked at suggested that it was up to 3 times quicker for certain tasks than a Pi 3 even, which is an enormous increase. And yeah, I think with you're running a lightweight desktop environment, you've got Chromium with hardware acceleration, although that's broken at the moment. They say they're going to fix it. Then I think, yeah, you can do absolutely everything that you would need to do on a computer on one of these $55 devices. It's incredible.
And I know a lot of people, like ourselves, might be using for kind of odd projects or TV centers or whatever like that. But the fact that when it is used in an education environment, it's designed to be used in bits and with wires plugged into. So there's no hidden sort of layer of what you are and aren't allowed to do. It's there's some great stuff out there with like the camera module, how to get all sorts of different ways of getting the raster off the sensor and things like that. And it's that sort of whole market of all the GPIO ports and pins. I mean, that's fantastic. It makes it such a cool sort of engineering / educational project for anybody.
Yeah, and the 4 gig of RAM is a big boost as well as the performance. And I thought it was interesting that I think I saw that Eben thought that the 1 gig or the 2 gig was going to be more popular than the 4 gig, but I'd have put my money on the 4 gig.
Don't you mean 8 or 16 gig?
Well, I think he said it's also possible.
Yeah, he said it was a typo for the 8 though, but he said it could theoretically do 16. We just can't get any chips designed like that right now. So you heard it here first. 16 gig is coming soon.
Yeah, that's funny that in the literature that comes with it, the leaflet thing, it says that it's for the 1/2/4 and 8 gigabyte models. And they claim that's a typo. No, a typo is, I don't know, getting a couple of letters the wrong way around. That is not a typo. That is, I don't know, maybe they were planning to have an 8 gig version and then that didn't pan out and someone fucked up or whatever. I don't know. But that's not a typo. I'm not having it. And also, I made some notes about this. I was really professional for once. And my final note is, DuckDuckGo is fucking shit.
It works okay if you put in !G after you search.
Yeah. I just don't even I was trying to search for some stuff and I was just like, there's a reason why I just use Google.
Use Start Page for the love of God.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say Start Page if you care about not giving your shit to Google or whatever. But DuckDuckGo, I just don't get the fascination with it. It's based in America, therefore it is potentially subject to all the same shit as Google in terms of government agencies and everything. I just don't get the love for it. It's weird. It's like a cult or something. I want to quickly ask you about your synth thing. Did you manage to compile the kernel, or is that still ongoing?
I have actually been able to compile the kernel, but I can't get the screen to work that I need to work.
Right.
So I had the same problem with the Raspberry Pi 3, and I actually destroyed my Raspberry Pi 3 because of the very stupid 3.3 volt pin being next to the 5 volt pin, and I was messing around with a multimeter when I'm just being lazy and not doing it properly. And so I still have the same problem that broke my Raspberry Pi 3 that I need to now troubleshoot with a brand new kernel on a new Pi. So I've not got it working yet.
I see. Well, you'll have to tell us about that at some point, and we'll probably just fade you out halfway through or something.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you about this synth. It's amazing. It's the Norns. It's called Norns. It's silly.
Yeah, well, whatever. Let's get out of here. Come on. So we'll be back in a couple of weeks, and in the meantime, I've been Joe.
I've been Phelan.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.